What's up everybody? I hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to do a manual. This is lesson 3.4 on my online course at mtbcourse.com. So if you found this lesson rad and you want to learn more, then go check out mtbcourse.com for more free previews. And if you're interested in buying the entire package, you can get it for $50 off using the code MarkyMath50. All right, let's jump right into the lesson. The next level up from wheelies is manuals. That is the next step in the progression ladder. And manuals are a really exciting trick because they're your foundation for all things advanced. What a manual is it's a wheelie without the pedal stroke. So you're not using your pedals to assist you to get your front wheel in the air. You're simply just shifting your weight back and pulling up and finding that balance point immediately. The longer you can do a manual, the more control you have. Now, this is really practical as well, not only stylish, but it'll help you get through obstacles at a really smooth, stylish level, and you'll just feel really comfortable, and your bike control is gonna really step up on the trail once you have manuals dialed in. So let's jump right into manuals, and I'm gonna show you all the things you need to think about when you're starting to learn them. There's two key factors to doing manuals. Number one is finding that momentum, and number two is getting on that balance point. Now, the faster you're going down the trail, the easier it'll be to pop up your front wheel, but that also means it's easier to loop out and fall on your back, which can be pretty scary. So you really have to be comfortable at manuals before I recommend doing them at a high speed. However, when you're learning, you want to really find a nice pace where you're not going too slow. Because if you're cruising at a really low pace, you're not going to be able to get that front wheel up and find that balance point. Because even if you do get on the balance point, you're just going to get stuck and you're not going to be going forward anymore. Once you've found a speed you're comfortable with learning on, now I want you to try transferring your weight from the front to the back. The exact same concept as weight transfer with wheelies, except for you're not thinking about what your pedals are doing. Stay in that neutral position, let your heels drop like they normally would, and go from leaning over your handlebars to blasting off, coming back, dropping those hips, and getting that weight dropped into the back wheel, while still keeping your weight centered over the middle of the bike. When you're doing this, you're not tossing all your weight back, you're just finding that nice balance point, and you're getting your weight back as far as needed. This piece can't really be taught. It's all through trial and error. You'll get a good feel of what that balance point exactly is. And there's a few depending factors. Number one is your bike. If you're in a dirt jump hardtail like I am, it has a very short rear end and it's very easy to loop out. I even struggle with going from my big bike to this bike because this bike manual's so much easier. So depending on the bike you're riding, that's really gonna change where your balance point is. I really recommend taking it easy for the first few rounds and feeling out the bike before you really commit to the manual and getting a good sense of what it takes to pop that front wheel in the air. If you're struggling to imagine where this balance point should be, imagine a straight line going from your bottom bracket where your pedals are straight into the sky, and that line is where a lot of your weight should be, with a bit of weight slightly behind that. And a really good way you can control this is by choosing how much you extend your arms. If you bring your arms forward, that's going to drop your front wheel down. If you bring your arms up into you, that's going to bring your front wheel up more. So if you're not fully controlled on the front end of your body, this is a good way to play with it, just moving your front wheel around with your arms. Another way too is just practicing on how much you're leaning. Each bike has a point where when you lean the majority of your weight over the back tire, it's going to pop up. And each bike will feel different, but once you get a feel for your bike, this will really start to make sense. You just have to keep repetitive with it and keep going over and over and trying to find that point there. Rather than swinging back aggressively to get that front tire in the air, you want to have lots of control, and an aggressive swing means you have no control because you're just like throwing yourself back. Now, what you want to do is go into a really nice aggressive position where you have total control of balance. What this looks like is imagine you're squatting on your bike, your knees are nice and bent, and then in order to pop up that front wheel, you kind of blast off, extending that squat and shifting your butt back and down at the same time. In order to not do this too hard and go too far back, try to stay in a level position, nice and even, and then use your arms to kind of guide your body weight. So if you're going back a little hard, keep those arms nice and extended. If you're not going back hard enough, then pull up with your arms a little bit and use that to kind of push more of your body weight to the back of the bike. But remember, keep your butt as low as possible, keep those heels dropped, and keep your center of gravity nice and low so you're as balanced as possible. Once you're in that balance point and you feel pretty good and you're locked in, Remember, there's room to move. You don't have to be locked into that position without any movement at all. It's not a rigid movement, it's a nice flowing motion. And often you'll see riders manual for a long distance, and while they're doing it, you'll notice their hips are pumping back and forth so they can maintain that point of balance. And whether or not you're on a steeper hill or an uphill surface, if the terrain below you is changing, or if you're just getting a little off balance, you're going to need to be able to like work on the fly and move that body around and stay nice and loose. So what I recommend is have a really solid grip on your handlebars, be really well grounded on your pedals, but allow your elbows and your knees to move freely, stay loose in the body, and just allow yourself to move around while you're on that back tire. You're not going to be stuck in one position the whole time. You definitely have to give yourself some flexibility. The first drill you can try when learning manuals is practicing how far you can go. What I love to do is pick a point on the ground and tell myself I'm going to manual past that point. And it's perfect if you can find a slight downhill, even surface that will help you carry your momentum all the way through. And then just challenge yourself to get further and further each time. The next drill I recommend is the next progression up, and that is being able to land in a manual. You'll see a lot of advanced riders do jumping into manualing. This is really common in BMX racing too, where riders are flying through the air and then they land in a manual and continue through a set of rollers. And this is very advanced, very technical, but it all starts off from understanding how you can land in a manual. The best way to do this is find a bank like the back of a nice paved berm like this, or something similar. Even if it's just a bank on a sidewalk, try airing up onto it so you're riding off it. Let your bike get in the air a little bit and try landing on that back wheel. Even if it's only an inch of air, that bit of air time and then landing on that back wheel is going to force you to find that balance point immediately. There is no room for movement. You essentially just need to land in that point right away. And it's pretty tricky to figure out, but once you get it a couple times, that will really make you feel confident about your abilities to stay balanced, and it's going to really help you build up this balance level, and your skills are just going to skyrocket from there. It's time to review some of the key things to think about when you're learning manuals. Number one, find that momentum. Number two, work on getting on that balance point and don't just lock yourself into it because you eventually will drop on your front wheel. Work on staying loose in the body, get strong grip on the bike, and allow yourself motion to move around. Number three, remember, it's not an aggressive swing back motion. It's a nice squat to extension to shifting that weight back and finding that point of balance. Remember, your arms can be just as useful as your lower body when you're squatting down and getting on that back tire. They're gonna help you control not only your steering with your arms, but they're also gonna help you with deciding where exactly that front tire is sitting, and that's gonna help you from dropping it down too soon. And lastly, there's lots of drills you can practice. Get out there, see how long you can wheelie for, try different surfaces to ride out of and air out of and land on your back tire. And this will help you with understanding what sort of scenarios you'll be in on the trail when your front tire pops up and you want to keep it going.